So I want to talk about wrestling, and I am going to talk about TNA. And so first, I'm going to talk about the X Division. Now, the X Division champion is Moose, and he won it from Mike Bailey, who I miss, by the way. I miss Mike a lot. He's amazing. But he won it from him. And I feel like in the beginning of his reign has been kind of slow. Like, he has had a few matches at the pay-per-views to defend that title. The most recent one was versus Kushida. But he also faced Diener as well, especially because, he was giving a promo about how great he is and how he's going to be the greatest X Division champion and the longest, and no one's going to be able to take that X Division championship from him. I think that is going to be the story with his X Division reign, his overconfidence in himself. Because the whole match against Kushida, it was his overconfidence that kept biting him in the butt, because he kept thinking he had Kushida down and he didn't take him seriously, and Kushida came back, but he still beat him. Moose still beat Kushida. But I think that's the storyline that we're going to have with the X Division. Like, who is going to be able to beat Moose? He's going to be like unstoppable. And I think he's going to have a long reign with the title. I could be wrong, but I do feel like he is going to have that title for a while. And I don't mind, the X Division is about having no limits, so why not, right? And he will hold that championship well, and he will have good matches. So, again, I really don't mind. And now let's talk about the tag team division. Now, the tag team champions in TNA are the Hardy Boys. And low-key, I think they have had a great tag team title run. Now, first of all, I think they have had a great run nonetheless. Like, I feel like the past few years, they were in AEW and things sort of happened. One got injured, then someone else got injured. And the storylines were never really there for them, for the Hardys. And then I feel like when they were in WWE, they had that great comeback at WrestleMania. They won the titles, and that's all I can remember of that run. That's it. But here in TNA, having those tag titles, they have had a good run and have had a good storyline. You know what I mean? Like, they went against the System. That's like the most recent tag team they faced, but they had a big storyline with them anyway. Like, they have been going against the System for a while. What I liked about that storyline is that it kind of cooled down and then you can bring it back up again, especially because, they took out Jeff Hardy in the beginning and when he came back. And then we had the whole, where you had to go to the compound, Matt Hardy's compound with the System. And then they attacked his wife, Matt Hardy's wife. So, we have a feud here. And so I did not mind us going back here. And it was like their contractual rematch anyway, because the Hardys won the titles from the System. And so this match was fine. The tables match was fine. I didn't mind it at all. But I do think that this is a good reign. And I think, again, like Moose, they're going to have a long reign. Their next challengers are going to be the Rascals. Now, what I do have to say about first of all, I love some Trey Miguel. I love me some Trey Miguel. Okay? And not just because he's really hot, but because he's a great wrestler. Like, Trey, when the Rascals broke up, originally, Trey did a hell of a job. He had a great run. He had 2 X Division title runs. He did great. Ever since then, I've been a fan of his. And so now him and Wentz are going after the tag titles for the Hardys. Now, do I think they might win that match? I don't think so. I think the feud will be good, though, and especially if they turn the Rascals heels. They're always better as heels, in my opinion. But in order for the Rascals to be able to have this number 1 contendership, they had to face 2 other groups. They had to face PCO and Callahan. And then they had to face Jake something with Hammerstone. Hammerstone wasn't able to come. But what a showcasing for Jake something. I hate that name because it could actually mean nothing. But he's Jake something. And I think I think this is the best showing he's had in a match. Mind you, this was a tag team match. He was single. and he was still able to go against these teams. That shows how amazing he was. Imagine how great he would have been if Hammerstone had shown up. But at the end of the day, it was a good match. And the Rascals won, and now they're number one contenders. Now, another thing, there is something going on with the number 23 with PCO and Callahan. Don't know what that's about. If you do know what that's about, let me know in the comments below. I'm not aware. I have no idea. But the number 23 keeps showing up every time these two have a match since they're partners now. And so now, I do want to talk about some of the side quest storylines that we have. You know, they're not the main storylines, but they're kind of side quest storylines. So, Grace, right? We have Jordynne Grace. Now, she won, she was the TNA Knockouts champion, and then Masha beat her, right? Not only did she beat her once, she beat her twice. And then Steels beat her technically with Alicia Edwards' help, right? And so the storyline coming into Rosemary versus Jordynne Grace was that Jordynne was kind of shaken in her confidence. Like, you know, she needed a win to get her confidence back after the losses that she has gained, because she had a hell of a run. I don't know why her confidence is down, you know. Sometimes we have a good stride. Other times we have a bad stride. And right now you're losing. But for a really long time, Jordynne was winning. And she made history. And she was going to WWE and stuff like that. And so, but I get it. I get the story. But anyway, we did have Rosemary versus Grace. And this has been, and I think it's happening because Rosemary is going after that title. Mind you, I had already predicted this. I had predicted that Jordynne Grace was going to have her rematch and lose. I had already predicted Alicia Edwards was going to have a match for Masha's title, and she lost. And I predicted that Steels was going to have a match with Masha, and she lost. And so now after all of those people, I knew Rosemary was next. She's been on a roll. She's been on a winning streak, right? And not just that, I was looking forward to this match because they had a match like months ago on TV, and it was a really good match. But it got interrupted by Ash by Elegance, and it was technically a disqualification that ended that match. And so I was really interested in seeing how we were going to do it again. And it was a good match. Of course, you know, Rosemary and Grace delivered. But guess what? It ended in another DQ. I do think Rosemary is the next contender for Masha's title. But we already know that that the person who ended this match was, I think her name is Tessa Blanchard. Sorry if I'm saying her name wrong. This is my introduction to her. I have heard of her. She's very controversial. But like I said, I'm just done talking about the wrestling. And so apparently, I guess she's going to get into a feud with Jordynne Grace before Jordynne leaves TNA. Like from what I hear, a lot of people are leaving TNA and going into other places. But at the end of the day, hopefully they have good matches, you know. And hopefully, you know, I know this comes with a lot of controversy with her. But maybe she's grown. Who knows, right? But anyway, those are the side quests in the women's division, right? And so now, let's talk. And I already talked about the champion and how she's been just running through things. You know, I kind of went into the main event with the TNA knockouts, like the TNA title, but they kind of all mix into that storyline. Now, I do want to do another side note on this. I'm so happy Alicia Edwards got thrown out of that building in that pay-per-view because she was getting on my nerves. She's doing a great job with her character. I think she's doing a really good job with her character because I cannot stand her. Do you want to know something? Right? And then she's always interfering in matches and she's never listening to referees. So I thought this was a good way for Santino to put his foot down and to be like, Alicia, girl, you are not going to intervene anymore in any of our matches, because not only was she in the women's division matches and intervening there, she was also interfering in the tag title matches, you know, when the system was involved. And she was also interfering in the main event scene with the TNA title, the world title. She couldn't mind her business. She was always interfering. She never listened to authority. She needed to get thrown out. Good for her, though, because before she was in the system, she was a bit in my peripheral because I felt like, you know, she was always given opportunities. But I think this is the best showcasing that she's had in the system. But she is really annoying. Anyway, this is part 1.